everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Iconist Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Barry 3D for Deep Dark Delicious, episode 151, and still going, son. Okay. On my side, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the one that's got you dancing all night long, especially when it's Saturday Love playing in the air. He's got me dancing. We know who we talking about. The one and only, my cousin, my best friend,
DJ Rod C. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We have something for you. It's part two. Oh, did I? Oh, yeah, nothing. Hey, how y'all doing? I ain't saying a word.
No, man, it's all good. And it is part two. It is part two. You know what? It's the Iconist Podcast. So before we jump into that, we did part one. It was our 150th episode on Gatchaman / Battle of the Planets. Not Eagle Riders. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about Gatchaman crowds. We good. So I'm still sitting here in this shirt for the second time. My Gatchaman shirt, my Gatchaman poster y'all can see back here for those who are watching on YouTube. Remember, like, subscribe, and share. And we will kick this off. But before we do, as always, manners maketh the man. So we got to show some love to the ones who show love to us. Let's hit. Here we go. So first and foremost, remember, you can find anything I'm doing by comedy and everything from my comedy to this show on my website, barry3d.com. So that's barry3d.com. That's my website. Make sure you bookmark it, save it. There you go. You never miss anything that's going on. On top of that, you got to go and, buy your books. Buy your books, right? Without the books, we wouldn't have the show, we wouldn't have the movies, we wouldn't have TV shows and everything else. Buy your books. 3 great places to check it out is first and foremost, check out Wow out in Kitchener. Tell Wes and the guys we said hi. Exactly. Out in Cambridge, go and check out A Hero's Tale. Tell Andrew and the rest of the guys we said hi. And for our friends out in Montreal, please go and check out Check Swings and tell Trevor and the rest of the guys we said hi. This is where I got this Gatchaman shirt. Was from Check Swings. Thank you once again, Trevor. Shout out. Okay. On top of that, we cannot forget the comedy group I run with at times, and that's Dave Sokolowski, Zoltar Lee, and myself, Barry Carter. We form a touch of gray matter, and hopefully we'll have some shows, that you'll see coming up sooner than later. So, I keep talking about it, but we're going to get to it. The weather is nice. It's time to start going and back to the grind. Right. Okay. On top of that, Rod, where can we find you?
Listen, you can find me, as I said, in the World Wide Web. You can find me on Instagram at Mr. Rod C. That's MRRODC. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/DJ Rod C. You can find me in the world of TikTok at DJ Rod C1. That's DJ Rod C1. Yeah. Find me, shout me out. Let's go.
That's right. And if you tell me you want to hear Saturday Love, you get extra, brownie points with me. All right, here we go. Yeah. Go drive that man crazy. On top of that, if we want to do a podcast like we're doing a podcast, we use Podbean. If you want to find our podcast, you check it out on the iconist.podbean.com. You'll see all past episodes, including everyone we drop every week. We drop in an episode on YouTube and on Podbean. So please check it out. Make sure you mark those and keep them posted. And we're also part of the Subculture Podcast Network. So it's our show along with 5 others. So that's Rebel Rock Radio, the Iconist Podcast, Dork Wars, Portable Hole Podcast, Entertainment Rants Podcast, and Trekkers Delight Podcast. Okay, not Rappers Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. As I said before, that's a different thing altogether. So that's the Subculture Podcast Network. Please check our show out along with the rest of them. Let them know that you heard about it. And hey, we've heard about you guys. And crisscross, we talk all the time. So that's it. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's not it. So if you two are looking to do a podcast and you need, something for your podcast, a wrestling event, I don't know, family member, something that you need graphic artists for, there's only one artist you should turn to. And that is
J Bird Digital Art.
Mr. Jason Reese, man behind J Bird Digital Arts. He is the hookup right there, and it's worldwide. You reach out to him through any of his media that he uses. Usually his Facebook's the best one. And you tell him you heard about him on the Iconist Podcast. He will give you a discount off the work. There you go. Thank you, Jay. Hope all is well with you. Another year around the sun. We wished him a happy birthday last time, but of course, we just gotta give it and can just kind of reminder.
There you go.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks. Now, as we said, Rod on the Iconist Podcast, the icon is
Gatchaman.
Gatchaman Part 2. So for everyone who's listened into last week's episode, you turned around, you heard us talk about Gatchaman Battle of the Planets, and I know I've kind of went back and forth. So let me do a couple of corrections here first and foremost. Correction number one, I kept saying the Gatchaman comic book by Alex Ross. I'm just so used to the name. It's really the Battle of the Planets comic book. Covers by Alex Ross. He was the force behind it. And then he got together with Top Cow, IDW, and they kind of did this whole genre and the world behind it, which was really interesting. And they left open some good plot lines that they didn't finish off that I want to know the answers to, right? So if you read that 12 issue miniseries, one, as we said, Keyop's dad or mentor or family member, who is he? And I mean, his name is Shiro. What's his connection to, and he's the janitor we're talking about, those missing the arm. So his name is Shiro. What's his connection? If you read issue number 11 and 12, it kind of perhaps a little bit more into it with that. Then what happens with Jason? Jason turns around and seems to have a moment after you read this, Battle of the Planets one shot. Jason, it gets into some of his past, as I mentioned before, and then it sets up a storyline. And then in issue number 12, which is the final issue of that series, he seems like he defects to Spectre, the Galactor. He goes on that side. Okay. And he's going to be training some agents. Okay. And Mark says those key words. It's like he's talking to Princess after having an argument with Jason, and she's like, everything okay? And he goes, I think I just witnessed the end of G-Force. But it's up in the air. We never got a continuation. But I want a continuation. I don't want Jason to be bad. I want a continuation. I want to see what they overcome. I hope that one day they get back to it and kind of pick up the plot lines. But everyone that worked on that comic book and the spin-offs were fans of the show, right? From the artists to the editors, the writers, everyone in there. It was a fan project and it was beautiful. This is what happens when you get fans who love the work, working for the work. If you don't believe so, then look at, was it Star Trek Strange New World, was it?
Yep.
The person behind Star Trek Strange New World was a fan of the property, and look how good that. No. Oh, yeah. Okay. So in that episode, we didn't turn around and fan cast anybody because my mind was imploding, as you can pretty much tell. And now I've had a time to digest it. We're going to kind of get through our fan cast and talk about some key things here. So once again, it's a Gatchaman Battle of the Planets fan cast. So I know last week we talked about Gatchaman. I know for American audiences, I'm going to cast it like a Battle of Planets, more of the American to it. There we go. All right. That's my take on it, right? For Gatchaman, you got to. Okay, I'll explain after, but that's what it is. So we know my love for Gatchaman. We know I've talked Rod's ear off on Gatchaman and Battle of the Planets. If you have the original comic books from like it was a Keynote Comics or whatever, that's awesome. But it never truly translated into what I've seen and want it to be. And as we said before, you got to watch Battle of the Planets, watch the original run, watch it. Then go back and watch Gatchaman, catch the differences, catch what was taken out and why 7 Target 7 was added with One Rover 1 and Susan, the voice, right? To kind of take out some of the more violent stuff that we couldn't handle here in North American audiences because we're seeing, as Rod put it, more conservative. So you would get the raw telling of that. Then, once you got that under your belt, you got to watch Gatchaman 2 and then followed by Gatchaman F for Gatchaman Fighter. And that is a well-rounded series right there. Boom, and it's bittersweet, but open-ended once again, because it seems at one point, did the team die or is the team still around? Right. And they never really answer the question. They leave it open to everyone's imagination. Even when they're talking at one point, it's like, oh no, Gatchaman is gone. I'm talking about Gatchaman F. And then it's like, no, I gave them this device and we have something like a giant phoenix bird coming back to Earth. They did not make it. But it was so ambiguous that it can play it out a different way. Either they could play out with the original team makes it back and what happens, or the original team doesn't make it back. Maybe only certain members make it back, and then they form a new team. Who knows? That's where it comes down to. Rod, what's your thoughts before we get into some more of this here?
Listen, the characters are I think I may have mentioned or alluded in the sense that there's been so ingrained in, at least for me, in my DNA, Battle of the Planets, and then growing up and starting to understand, no, they're like the American, the North American version of Gatchaman. And you got to go back to Gatchaman to see where does it originated from, and you start to realize, like, oh, and when you get older, you start to realize, like, now I see why they gave it the Western touch, as I said, to be more conservative, and just kind of like pull back. But the whole idea of having five, a team of five, having a team of young individuals who were secret agent type ninjas who basically just, were able to propel into greatness, show the skills that they have, and make people realize, like, oh, uh, different type of personalities can work together. And that's one of the great things you got when you understood getting older. You start to realize that you see the nuances of each different person. You're like, wow, we've all had people or friends like that. Maybe I can talk to my friends, like talk to those people like that and make friends. You know what I mean? If they can do it, so can I. So certain stuff like that, attributes and stuff like that, that kind of make the whole package of Gatchaman very relatable to people, and I liked it from that.
Absolutely. There was always something there for everybody. So regardless of your, as you put it, your personality, you would find someone you could relate to or see traits in there that either you have, that you want to
Right.
have, inspire to, and it'd say, hey, they can do it, I can do it. And that was the beauty of Gatchaman. And they didn't shy
Mm-hmm.
away from it because, as I said, the two, you know, even though as Mark and well, the planets, he was known as Mark the instead of Ken the Eagle leader. Mark was the
Right.
leader. Mark's always seemed cool and calm, but he had problems expressing his feelings of how he really felt about um Princess or June the Swan, and vice versa. Everyone saw that was a relationship that was waiting to happen on both sides.
Yeah.
And the rest of the members were kind of saying, kind of step up. Come on, man, stop being so shy. So even though he was so confident in a lot of things, he still had issues that he had to deal with. And then even though he was calm under pressure majority of the time, anytime you put in Jason or Joe the Condor, he would push those buttons and he would bring the worst out in Ken at times, but he would also make him see a different viewpoint, which would let him think and say, okay, I get what it is.
Mm-hmm.
He might have seemed like the knight in shining armor, but Jason like, oh no, you got flaws too, guy. You got flaws too, guy. Watch me. And the two of them would get into a fisticuffs times. But keep in mind, they're a young, team, and their fisticuffs was like a Jackie Chan, Jet Li, martial arts fight scene, Forgotten Realm, like Forgotten Kingdom. Sorry, Forgotten Realms is just a giant. Forgotten Kingdom. That's that guy. Yeah, you want to see it, but you don't want either one to lose. All right, there we go. It's like Godzilla versus Kong. Either one has their favorites, but you don't want your guy to lose. Right? Okay. So we said that this episode we're going to get down to casting the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here it is. For when I watched the live action version from overseas in Asia, and they had that one. I like the casting of the characters. The costumes would have been a little bit more authentic. The Phoenix, when they finally showed the Phoenix, from the outside, I wish it was a little bit more closer to what I saw. Even color scheme, they just made it like a silver gray kind of thing. The powers, how they worked, how they spoke to each other, I think that really worked really well when you watch the live action. So for that, I was like fans everything. I wanted them to have more of the capes that look like bird wings, as you can see here behind me, instead of a traditional cape. So that
Right.
was, some of the things. And the mask. I wanted the mask really not to just be a flat face shield. I wanted it to be pointed like really like how their helmets are, which can be done. So I think that they should have given them more a traditional look for Gatchaman when they did it. But I like the actors they selected. Now I don't know enough of their backstories to say, oh, maybe it's someone else. You're right, and that's my lack of knowledge. I'm not over in Asia looking at the top Asian actors. Sorry, and I'm just being upfront with that. Right, so that's what
Mm-hmm.
it is. So for who they cast, I like it. I think where the improvement's going to happen is costumes, the the Phoenix itself, That's where I would have wanted to see some of those pop in. So even though I say Gatchaman, I go more Battle of the Planets. This is what we got here in North America. I'm not taking away anything from Gatchaman at all because clearly we all know I love both those particular properties. I will say this. I know at one point they were trying to do another follow-up series, which was called Gatchaman Phoenix Ninjas, which was supposed to be a follow-up after the series. But it never got off the ground, right? They had like just rough drawings you can find, like test drawings of them. So they didn't have the capes. They looked like more, and they're in more like a mech combat armor outfit, right? No cape. Color scheme wasn't still there. But once again, it was just a concept. And then you see another one in the red costume. So I don't know what they were going for, but it never got the funding. It never got off the ground. It was just more concept. It was Chorus Entertainment. I was supposed to be behind it too. And as I said, don't have enough why, but there's a couple of, as you can see here, I'm putting them up and see what I'm talking about. So that is it. So now we go down to it. So I know Rod, you had your list. So because of that, I'll let you go first. So let's break it down character by character. Let's see who you got, and then we can go back and forth. So first of all, if you had to go with Mark, the leader, also known as Ken, who would you cast and why? And what are you looking for also? Are you looking live action, movie, series, voice work, whatever? Let me know.
So I will say that I'm looking for live action. So I'll start with that live action. And you're absolutely correct. The recent one that they did a couple, maybe about 7 years ago, they did that last one.
Yeah.
Something in that regard. Yeah, that was great. It was a different type of presentation. It was definitely darker, but I can understand they're trying to modernize it, and I can accept that. So what I was going from the Gatchaman aspect. So hearing what you were going from the Battle of the Planet, the North American aspect. I was going more of the original aspect of it, and sort of like you, I don't know many of the actors and what they can do. So I was more going off of visual and seeing them and just kind of comparing them with some other actors and seeing, do I get that type of visual face to look like, okay, can you represent the characters? So for Mark, for Ken, I chose Daniel Masanaga. Daniel Masanaga. So he is an actor who is Japanese heritage, and I wanted to at least go from the aspect to say, let me have someone who's Japanese heritage. Actually, I'll just say, all of my cast is going to be from Japan, at least Japanese heritage.
Present.
It may be, have Japanese and English, Japanese and European, or whatever the case may be. But at least I want to have that, at least that culture connection right there. Mm-hmm. So when I look at Daniel, and he was in this movie called, sorry, let me just get back to the one that I was looking at. So he was in one that was Spirit of the Glass. And, I kind of like did some quick just looking on it and like, see if I find some clips. I found some clips, but his facial expression, he gives me that leadership type of look. He looks like someone who is like, at least on an IMDb page, he looks like the individual who is like saying, okay, I'm control, I'm in charge, I know what I'm doing type of scenario. And when you get through who all the other people I have, I can give it that visual look, you'll understand why I chose them. And when we get to Jason, when I explain who it is, you'll see why for that one as well. But Ken, I'm going to go with Daniel Masanaga, and he basically has the look of basically being someone who's like that smooth, clean cut type of, I follow the rules. I'm only thinking this right now because it's coming off the top of my head. Thinking like a Scott Summers, someone who just obeys a professor. I just like, this is what you want me to do? Okay, team, this is what I gotta do. These are the orders. Let's go through with it. Do you understand?
Right.
So right. Like that, by the book. He's by the book. He's a by the book type of individual. This is what we're supposed to do. This is what we do. I don't want no talk from you, Jason. I don't want to hear no talk from you, Joe. It's toe the line. And then when he doesn't get his way, it's all about fisticuffs, as you said.
Okay. Right. I like that. So I'm with you. I like that. I've seen it. Okay, all right. So for myself, I was going more with Mark, right? As same
Mhm.
person, just different
Well, that's
name.
what I'll
So
say.
more. So I'm
Mhm.
going Battle of the Planet. So with myself, I'm going with Mark, and I'm going with the actor, and his name is Sebastian Amoroso. So he plays Jet in the Airbender series that's on Netflix right now.
Okay, I see what you did. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So once again, he's got that look to me. I try to go with a younger cast overall, if um and for Battle of the Planets, I can see him
Oh,
right
go,
playing
go.
the leader of the team because he's
Mhm.
got that heritage, right? So he's Japanese and American. He's here in America. So I think from how I'm forming the team, that's who I could see as my leader. And and as things go on, hopefully this makes sense for how I'm casting it on my side. So you can
Right,
see I'm trying to go with a certain aesthetic or flow with it. I might be off,
right.
might be not, and I'm trying to, as I said, give it a little bit of a modern take. I'm trying to make it a little bit more uh open culturally also. So that's where I'm
Mhm.
really going with because I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I had to go to a North American audience, looking at how the studio might want to
100%.
look at it and I don't want to go too far off left field, but at the same time, I'm gonna add a little bit of for that salad. Here we go.
Gotcha. No, and I hear what you're saying. And you brought up a good point. I thought it when I was doing the research and everything like that, and I forgot I didn't mention it earlier. Um, I wanted to give them give them an extra 5 years age. Now I was going from the concept of they're a secret team. Now I know when this was created back in those times, they always had a lot of like as teenagers and everything along that line. I was trying to give it a little modernized just to give it a little realism.
Yeah,
You can be
yeah,
that young, to have a team, to be that skilled. That's this is my opinion. So
right,
that's
right.
why I said let me at least give them a mid 20s, mid 20s. At least a team is as young as so. Jippy would be like maybe as young as 18. Let him be like the child genius type of center, which I'm saying it now, but let's just
Yeah,
say along that line. But then you have the leader, the person who he's in his late 20s. So you got a crew of individuals who are still young enough to understand, like, oh, we're going to bend the rules and do our own thing, but yet old enough to understand, maybe this is one time we're gonna have to toe the line and do what command tells us to do. You know what I
right.
mean? So
Yes,
that's what
yes.
the concept was going for that. So, but I see what you're saying with Sebastian though, because he does have that feel to be again. He was a leader of that particular group. He was able to portray it very well. So I can see where you're going with that.
Right. So there we go. So that's how we're breaking it down, with, as I said, Eagle Leader. So let's go with that.
Mhm.
G1 Eagle Leader, regardless of what you want to call him. So I Gatchaman, as I said, he is
Mhm.
10. For Battle of the Planets, his name is Mark. All right, so we're gonna break it down now. So let's go down to second in command, G2, Jason. So once again, from your Gatchaman perspective, how would
Mhm.
you do Joe the Condor?
So I wanted someone who can show to be Joe is supposed to be a rebel. Although he toes the line, he's supposed to be, I'm gonna push buttons. I'm gonna still I'm gonna work off my worth because I know I'm worthy to be on this team. I've done my dues, but I ain't taking from anybody. I'm gonna go with McCann. Now McCann, so McCann. Now McCann, we've seen him. Now again, Japanese descendant and everything like that. We've seen him in One Piece. In One Piece, he was uh Ro Ro. Let's say for right saying this right. Rona Zoro.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pull him up right here. So he was the one who was um with the blades. Like I apologize in advance for anybody if I'm not giving the proper respect for One Piece. Love the show, seen it. I'm just very bad with names and everything like that. Everybody who personally knows me, like it takes me like 3,000 times before I'm like, right there. So
Yeah, yeah.
if you know the individual who runs with the blades, who basically got the blade in his mouth, who's running around and just like, you know, Ginsu knifing everybody, that's Makuyu. That's who I'll have as because he was a rough person who just didn't take any crap, and he was like, oh, okay, I will.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll do what I
Yeah.
got. You know what? If there's a point I got to take over, has no problem if there's an opportunity to take the lead. This is what he will do. This is what Jason does. This is what a Joe does.
Right,
Yes, he
right,
understands he
yes.
may be the second in command, but he's the type of person that's saying, Mark, I'm just waiting for you to slip up. Just slip up, son. Slip up.
Just slip up, son.
I'm going to take your spot. I'm going to take your spot.
Oh, okay. I see what you're
I'm just
talking
going
about.
to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'll do it. Zora as Zoro. All right. Zora. Okay. Yeah. Zoro. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So
I
roll,
see
right? Yeah.
exactly what you're talking. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Wow.
So,
Okay. So I'm gonna go. So I'm going to again. So that's your Joel the
mm-hmm.
Condor. So I'm once again same person. G2. I'm going Battle of the Planets. I'm going with Jason. Right. So
Right.
Jason. Right. Condor. And I'm going with Joe Keery. So Joe Keery, you're gonna say who? Joe Keery's in Stranger Things. He's a little bit of the
Okay.
rebel. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's who I'm going with. Because every time you see Jason, well, I mean, all of them usually have like the longer hair. It's almost they all look like rock stars. But Joe
Mm-hmm.
Keery has that rock star look. He is a little bit of a rebel already. I can see him pushing buttons. Now, once again, I said I'm going strictly North American kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He is a little bit older than he cast, but he plays younger. Okay. With all that in there being said, I think, I would love to see Joel kind of take on. So Joel play Jason,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know it's like he's not playing Joe, he's playing Jason, right? Okay, yeah.
Right.
Okay. So he's playing, so that's what I'm going with the G2 character just because he's got that rock rebel thing, persona amongst them. And I see him behind the wheel of a car driving it a certain way. Yep. Can I see him being, the with his feather shuriken as he uses all the time? Yep. Can I see him holding a gun and shooting? Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
And pushing buttons. Absolutely. He really looks like a rebel as is. When he
Mm-hmm.
smiles, it kind of softens up his image. But if he puts a little bit of a smirk to it, I think that it would come more with G2 Joe Condor.
Yeah.
Jason, I would say Jason, right? So
Yeah.
that's who I'm going with. All right. So now we're going with G3, which would be
Mm-hmm.
Princess
Mm-hmm.
or June the Swallow. So June under Gatchaman, Princess under Battle of Planets. So who would be your June
Yeah.
Swan?
So, I said, you know what? Again, I'm going to, stay in the realm of having someone who's, from Japanese heritage and stay in that particular realm. And then I was like, oh, I need a female person who can just take this, who could be ever so soft and easy, but show that when the time comes, it could be a problem. So I'm going to go with Chioli. Let me say, apologize. Here we go. Shioli Kusana, aka we've seen her. She is Yokio in Deadpool 2. Yokio in Deadpool 2.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. All right. People, this is just a roundtable discussion. Like usual, we never know what the other person's going to pull out, right? So I don't know who Rod's picks are. He doesn't know who my picks are until the show comes out. And then we talk about it like here live, right? So this is a roundtable fan casting. This is the whole show. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. All right. All right. So on my end, I'm going with Princess, right? She ain't no damsel in distress. She rides a motorcycle that does 700 miles per hour. Okay, that can also go on water. She's got that yo-yo bomb. She is their technician. They're computer specialist. There we go. She's a computer specialist to a certain right. Okay, so I'm going with, and this actress's name, it's pronounced Gao. Sorry, Gay Win Dio. Gay Win Dio. So that's her first name. Uh, uh, Gaya Gay Win Dio. Last name Tarbell. She is in once again the Netflix show Airbender. Right? She plays, oh my gosh, the main girl from Airbender. She's a waterbender.
Oh, Takana. Oh, okay. She's playing.
Yeah,
Takana.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I just went blind. Oh my gosh, did I just do that? I did.
Yeah, you did. My world.
Katana.
Yes, yes.
Katana. Oh my gosh, I just went blind. Yes. Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see
So
what you're
that's
doing.
who I'm going with, right? Like she's got the beautiful hand movements. She's graceful. She's going to be big sister to the youngest member of the team when I get to him. So that's
Hmm.
where she falls into, you know. Um, so that's where she falls in. So that's who I'm going with. We've seen her already. I like what she's done already. I want to
Katara.
see more
Thank
of
you.
her.
Katara.
That's what I
There you
like.
go.
Right?
Melvin and Bethlehem. Perfect. All right.
Okay. So now we're gonna go down G4. And
Mm-hmm.
G4 is, on your side, Battle of the Planets, he's Keyop on
Mm-hmm.
Gatchaman. Oh my god, now I'm drawing a blank. I was looking at Keyop, it's not oh my gosh, Junpei.
Junpei. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So he's
So
G4. So G4,
yes.
Junpei slash Keyop. All right. So who you got to play your Junpei on your team?
So I wanted to go from a certain concept of like I kind of leaked it earlier saying, um, Junpei he's the youngest, but he has to be of a certain caliber to be on this team. He talks in a particular dialect and everything along that line. I want to give him to be a special individual who has like a very foresight, like, he's extra intelligence or, something like that to make him like saying you have a whole team of not grown people, but then you have
Hmm.
this younger guy. There has to be a reason why this individual is part of this team. He's going to bring something to that. I'll leave that for writing and everything like that to come that, but there'll be a reason why. So I want to have Dalen Kento Curtis. So Dalen Kento Curtis, he's been in a couple of spots in certain places. He's been in the Mandarin. He's been in Cheaper by the Dozen. Um, he's been in where's another one? Sense 8. That was a little
Oh,
earlier
okay.
on.
Yes.
So the young boy in there as well. So I wanted to have someone, again, Japanese, but I just wanted to find someone. I said I'm looking for someone who is young, like in his late teens, who
Hmm.
may be able to portray himself like, just like say 16, 17 in that regard, and just say he still have enough cognitive awareness of who he is, what he can bring to the team, and there has to be a reason why he's here. So I wanted to have someone you can have another reason why June is babying, protecting, overseeing, watching, guiding him. Because she will say, yeah, you're good enough to be here, but you still need guidance. You need still covering. And I'm going to take it upon myself to always watch after you. So I got to make sure the age difference is big there or good enough to make her feel like we are not blood, but we're blood. I'm taking care of you no matter what.
Okay. All
So I
right.
wanted to look at him. He has that nice, simple, innocent face type of center of a young individual, and is like saying, you know what? I think you can work well in here.
Nice, nice. Okay, I see where you're going. So then I'm going with Keyop, and I'll say a couple of things. So one, I'm going with Keyop. One, I don't want him to speak in whistles and sound. Let's
Right.
I don't want to
Yes.
just like how they did Bumblebee and Transformers talking through a radio. No, no, that give him a stutter. I'll say, okay, give him a speech impediment. Let him talk
Right.
with a little bit of a stutter. Let him talk with a little bit of a lisp to kind of still show homage to the whistles and the way he speaks. But
Hmm.
I would go more with a stutter at times, and let the stutter come out not when he's in action. When he's in action and he's focused on something, he'll speak normally. When
That's
he's
it.
out of a fight scene or something going on, hey, how you doing, K-Op? Well, you see, right. But when he's in focus, it clears up. And
He's
that happens with people
yeah,
with stutters. If someone is doing
100%.
something that they're focusing on and they're just focusing on that one task, their stutter at times goes away, right? And then when they're more relaxed, they have so many thoughts happening
Right.
in there that he's
Hmm.
trying to get it out. And let that be his stuttering problem. Maybe he's an overthinker and it's like, well,
Right. There you
so
there you
yeah,
go.
so that's what I want to go with. That's how I would love to see this portrayed. Not the no, he's not a robot. Okay. I'm going with a younger actor, and this actor I'm going with is Lucien River Johan. So that's the actor I'm going with. And once again, he is also in the Airbender Netflix series, right?
Okay.
That's where I'm going with this particular character. I can remember who he plays in there
He
offhand,
plays that
but hmm?
Tio. Tio.
There we go.
So I believe he is the young boy who was in the flying wheelchair, who
Yes,
was the
yes,
son of the mechanic
that's right. That's right.
or the
So
machinist.
yeah,
Machinist.
exactly.
Yeah.
So give me him, to play that role. I think with what I've seen
Hmm.
of him, it'd be interesting there. So that would be my G 1, 2, 3, and 4. So those are
Got him.
my main people. And I'm not talking that, the last one's not main, but that's for how I'm wrapping up the team. Now it brings down to the interesting person here, which is
Hmm.
G5.
Right.
Fighter pilot, himself. He flies the Phoenix. He's got
Hmm.
skills. He's got a sumo style. Maybe not as graceful as the rest of them, but he's the pillar of the team. He's the soul of the team. He gets left behind because we explained before, he's the only one with surviving family members. The rest of his team, generally, it's all orphans. He's the only one with a mom, a dad, brother. He still talks to his parents on a regular basis. I would like to see more of how he got recruited for this team when he's
Hmm.
the only non-orphan on the team. So, once again, on your side, that would be Ryu, the owl, and on
Correct.
my side here, that would be also he goes by Tiny. So,
Right.
who do you have for Ryu, the owl?
So I wanted to change up. This is where with Ryu, I wanted to change up just slightly. I wanted to give homage to the character we know.
Mhm.
But I changed him up. I wanted to make him to be even maybe another 5 years older than the group. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if you are supposed to be this experienced pilot who's able to handle the Phoenix when it's in fire mode, you know what I mean? He's like, and again, the Phoenix isn't a small plane. This is a big, like a Boeing 47, 747 type of Huey. This is a big beast. I wanted to have someone who have the ability to say, I can still work in combat. I can still put me out on the field, coach. I can still do. But because of the understanding, like you said, he's the only one who still have his parents who are still alive. You have, in that sense, from the team's point of view, more to lose than any of us. We're going to have you stay in the back. So I have this particular character and I wanted to switch it up. I wanted to start off an homage of, you said correctly, Tiny Ryu. He is an individual who is a very thick individual. He's heavy. He's like a sumo. He's just a very built guy. I wanted to have him start off like that, or more in flashback memories that you had him start off like that. But you see, over time, he's now turned himself into a diesel guy.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I wanted to
Yeah.
have him change because if you're going to be able to be one of the one, this is a super team. Got to be able to make sure that you can keep up with everybody because you always see that he can always keep up. They've never drew it that he's like, I'll catch you guys later. No, never did
No,
that.
no, no,
So
no.
I don't want it to be a mental hindrance that someone can see him and think like, how realistic is that in that type of scenario? I
Mhm.
want to also say that if you're going to be able to carry and hold down a plane of that particular caliber, you got to be able to like hold those G forces when pulling out the Phoenix before we just hitting, type of scenario. So I need someone who can just take the reins, take the handle, take the yoke, and just we're pulling up, kind of scenario. So I'm going with Kamazawa, Kamazawa, Rick Kamazawa. He is again, as I said, everybody is Japanese descendant, has Japanese, heritage within them. This person, he's been in Grey's Anatomy, Growish, Animal Kingdom. He's been in many shows, so he already understands how to be. You're not saying how to be an actor. He's already an actor, but he understands the American side of it. So this is where I was going to say this at the end, which I'm saying right now. Majority of my characters, except for the first one, are all who's at least done some American and who's worked on Hollywood, who worked on North America side. First one, Daniel, doesn't have any major credits on this side, too tough. So this is where I would say that either I would have it that this visual can work both ways in the sense that you can have um, dubbed on one
Yeah.
side and
Right.
have them
Okay.
speak tongue on the other side. So depending on where you want to present this, again, it will be an easier way of saying, well, it won't even be dubbed because Daniel may be, and I'll have to double check on that to refresh my memory. Daniel may be the only one who have to be dubbed if he's on the American side, but everybody else could speak English in that sense.
Yes.
So at
Yes.
least it can still work on both sides. But I'm coming from the Gatchaman perspective of this IP. So I would go.
Okay.
So I will go with Rick Kamazawa. That's who I would have as my uh, G5 as as Owl.
Right. Right. Ryu. Okay.
Raul,
Oh
sorry, Raul.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, wow. All right. All right. Then. Okay. All right. You want to be that way about it. Okay. That's a great pick, though. I like where you're going with that. See, so I was told more staying with the traditional aspect of it,
Mm,
and I was going with so I'm going with, as I said, with Tiny. I'm still
mm,
keeping him body wise somewhat inside. You might look a little bit thicker, but he's all power.
mm,
He now we're Eagle Leader is able to fly that Summit fighter plane like no tomorrow. He is their key pilot. The secondary pilot, skill wise, for flying such a big plane with more weight to it and flying it the way he does, like no one, even Mark, or sorry, I say Mark, even the Eagle Leader can't fly the Phoenix as well as Tiny. Like
right.
Tiny flies because Tiny understands the Phoenix better than or sorry, say Tiny. So I'll say the Owl. Let's say Gatchaman. The
Mm,
Owl flies it better than Eagle Leader and vice versa, right? I've never seen the
mm,
eagle. I've never seen the owl try to fight a fighter plane in any of the episodes, but everyone always goes hands down how Ryu Tiny flies the Phoenix is he's done things he makes that plane fly that some of them wouldn't think is possible.
right.
In the comic book Battle of the Planets, that 12-issue run, which was really nice, is at one point they show you how advanced it was, where they were undercover walking into a building in a hotel and they were posing as something, and then they needed backup, and it's like, oh, we need heavy firepower, we need the Phoenix, and Ryu, or sorry, Tiny at the time turned around, was like, no problem, I got this, and they all looked at him, was like, what do you mean? He goes, what? He goes, you think I need to sit in the Phoenix to fly the Phoenix? And he had his watch, and he was using the watch that he used to transmute to fly the Phoenix, and he was able to call it down remotely. It's above them in the air. He was able to send signals to fly it down remotely, open up weapons, and start like firing what it needs to be to get rid of the enemy at that time. And they're looking like, oh, Eagles, it's scary how good you are with that. You're flying it remotely just
Right.
as good as if you were sitting behind the yoke controlling it.
And this fully, and this is what I'm saying for me. That's why I would have someone who's older. He's been through so much different experiences. He has to
Yeah.
be able to know what his plane can do.
Mm,
Someone with experience will know, I know my plane. I've been here not more than 1 year. I've been flying. I've been flying this piece of machinery for X amount. I know what you can do.
right.
So you're
I
absolutely correct.
Yeah, and I think they all specialize in their machinery, and it shows like
100%.
that. Really, that scene in the comic book really stood out for me. How he flies at what they refer to him at, but it really, that take of it. It's like none of the other one members control their machines remotely. He can, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
main one. So I was going with for Tiny. I was going with Gaten uh, Matarazzo. You know him from once again from Stranger Things, right? He's the one that
Okay.
had the two front missing teeth, right, and the
Yeah.
curly hair. As Stranger Things is going on, yes, he was a little bit more pudgier, and he's kind of gotten more, thick in shape or whatever. But I would go with him because
Mm-hmm.
he's got that persona, that character that comes through. That he's not hot tempered. He's
Right.
not. He's passionate, but he's passionate about family. He's passionate about G-force. He's passionate about his cheeseburgers. So they call him, Battle of the Planets, his space burgers. He loves eating those and hanging out with Seven Stark Seven. But what you might not, two things people underestimate him is like when you see him smiling, he's always got a smile on his face. He's always chill. Well, two things they underestimate him at is when it comes to hand combat, he's a beast. When it
Right.
comes to flying the Phoenix, he's a beast. But
Right.
everyone always sees, oh, he's kind of chubbier than the rest of the team. Whatever. And they underestimate him always. But you put him in the seat of that plane, or you put him in hand to hand, and he starts going that sumo style where he starts slapping people and pushing them back. When they need the extra, literally muscle power, open things and all that, they call Tiny. They don't, right. So this is where he's the muscle man. He is the pilot. He's like the last line of defense. You get through Tiny. All right, you get a point. And of course, you need all five members to form the whirlwind, right? Their sonic
Hmm.
whirlwind. They stand each other's shoulders and they do that and they throw it. Oh yeah, wicked. So that's who we're going with our Gatchaman Battle of the Planets characters. Now, I don't know how far you went. Did you just do the characters or did you do anybody else on top of that?
I just did the character.
Okay. All right. So I'll
Where
throw
did you
people
go?
an extra, I'll throw people
Okay.
an extra bone here and there. So on that, staying with the Battle of the Planets, I wanted to turn around and of course cast Mark's dad, as you find out in the series, right? I wanted to turn around and cast Kronos, the leader of the Red Impulse. So I just
Okay.
went as far as saying him. I would go with uh, Daniel Day Kim, the actor Daniel Day Kim. You've seen him on Chicago. Was it Chicago MD? He wanted to
Okay.
be Namor at one point. He was the person that wanted to be Namor. Or no, it wasn't Daniel Day Kim, but Daniel Day Kim is who I would go with. I think he was a Hawaii vibe, but he's an actor. He's a little bit older. I would see him, let him grow a little nice kind of mustache. I would put him in as, leader of the Red Impulse team who turns out to be Mark's dad, the Eagle leader's dad. So that's who I was going with there. For that, even age wise, when I look at the two actors, there's enough of an age gap that it'll actually look natural for him to be Sebastian's dad, even though their ethnicity might be a little bit different.
Hmm.
Once again, we're just, you can always play with that storyline wise, but that's who I'm going with. Um, and then of course the bird cast, or
Zoltar.
Zoltar. Thank you. Jeez.
There it is.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
Zoltar, deep thought there. So for Zoltar, I was gonna secret cast and I would go with Charlize Theron. Because a lot
Oh.
of times people see Zoltar and they see Zoltar and how Zoltar is written. You're never first, you just automatically assume Zoltar is a man. And then as the
Hmm.
series goes on, you see Zoltar is master disguise. And as the series goes on, you realize that when Zoltar is dressed up, Zoltar seems to have on lipstick. Like the lips are really red, but he always
True.
acts and carries on. People always think it's a him. And it's only near the end of the series you find out that Zoltar is a woman. And then you find out even further that Zoltar was a little girl that was artificially aged into the body of a woman by the luminous one, or the Spectre. So that's so casting Charlize Theron in that role without saying it's her, right? To do that big
Interesting.
reveal at the end, that's where I would go with. So that's who the people I see in my mind for it. And then for Anderson, Dr. Anderson, I was gonna go
Hmm.
with someone like Liam Neeson, older,
Okay. Okay.
right? Let him be the scientist, the doctor that helps form G Force and Red Impulse, and you know, uh, that's my casting there. Those my extra bones. There we go.
Okay. Okay. I
All
see what you're
right,
doing. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. All right. That's
right.
good.
So
That's
right,
good.
and I'll say that. So obviously, you can tell I'm going live action, but I'm not
Hmm.
going live action movie. I want give me a couple episodes. Give me a live action Amazon series, like how Amazon did the Lord of the Rings follow up, right? With their,
Yeah.
you know, give me something like that. So it's got a budget, a couple episodes, and let's play out, maybe wrap up the storyline, maybe do like, I'm even happy with two seasons. One season one, kind of. all right, this is where it's at. Season 2, let's follow up with storylines. Let's get into some more of the subplots and come to a full rounded thing on that. Right.
Okay.
Or give me 10 episodes where it's going to be and a couple of flashbacks that kind of explain it and give me the proper graphics animation with it. I mean, when I say animation, I'm talking, I want to see the Phoenix become the Phoenix. I want to see them turn around and reference it. Let's wrap up that storyline. But that's where I'm going with on that. Take some elements from the Battle of the Planets comic book. Let's maybe work with one of the writers who was kind of plotting that storyline to see where were you going next. Open that door and let's close some of those chapters. That's my Battle of the Planets take on it. Fantastic. There we go.
Okay.
Ooh. Okay. All right. We got through it, people.
We did.
Absolutely. Any last words on that one, Rod?
Right now, I mean, like I said, we've been gifted having something presented to us about 7 years ago. But this is still an IP that could definitely bring some good nostalgia and bring in a new age to new people. Like there's a new generation who probably never really seen this and who can be reintroduced to this the same way as a side note when they brought back or quote unquote continued the animated for Voltron, the legendary defender. That was just like a stirring up and just starting all over again type of scenario. Same thing when they did with Thundercats, aka I heard they're supposed to be making a live action, so I'm waiting to see how that one's going to pan out. That's something coming down the pipeline. Wow, this is now going back and bringing these classics and bringing it up to par right now. I can say that this IP is one that shifted in North America that a lot of people gravitated to, and our generation, we loved it. And I know that if the way it gravitated to us, if done right, it can start a whole new generation of people who's just enjoying that IP and bring it to the forefront. So yeah, I can see it going very well.
Through that, just like how the X-Men 97 is going. Fire! It is Spider-Man 97. All right.
We'll talk about
Spider-Man 97. Right? Oh, okay. Yeah. And that's some cliffhangers that we need to wrap up. All right. On that note, everyone, thank you for tuning in to the Iconist podcast, part 2 of Gatchaman, Battle of the Planets. Remember, like, subscribe, and share. Don't let the show be a secret. And as I always say, this whole world was started by a pencil, a piece of paper, and lots of imagination. Keep on dreaming. All right. Raven, transmute. Brightly. We out.